Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I am All in Crypto, and today we are going to be delivering another daily cryptocurrency market update. For those of you that are new around here, every single day at 1 p.m. we release a daily crypto market update where we don't just look at the crypto space, but we look at the markets broadly. We look at the news flow, so on and so forth. So if that sounds good, guys, please do me a favor and smash that subscribe button. Make sure you click the notification bell, and of course, a like and a comment is always appreciated if you've enjoyed this video. So today we're going to be looking at the Bitcoin chart because the Bitcoin chart looks absolutely beautiful. It's very much following the path that we set out for it. We know that altcoins have had some issues with the SEC. We're going to be talking about the SEC in this video, playing a clip from Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse. We'll also be looking at another clip from Larry Fink when he talks about Bitcoin and it becoming a global market asset. And this is the trajectory that crypto generally is on, and Bitcoin, as the pioneer, as the tide that rises and sinks all ships, is really leading that way. You will have altcoin ETFs in the future, ladies and gentlemen. The first step, our guy going through the door first, of course, is Bitcoin. We'll be hearing from the Winklevoss twins, looking at a number of other things. You actually have Bitcoin. I found this very interesting because if you understand Bitcoin, you understand the social ramifications of it, as well as the economic, and it has huge economic implications, not just for us in the West, but in countries where their economic stability is questionable. You've got Bitcoin. This is the Lebanese pound, and you can see that you are at above and beyond all-time highs in regards to the Lebanese pound. This, of course, is the Argentinian peso. New all-time highs, just because we haven't made new all-time highs in the dollar. It will come, ladies and gentlemen. I could actually see new all-time highs coming end of this year rolling into the next. Ultimately, we've really spoke about this window of opportunity that we've been spot on about for the markets, despite all the doom and gloom headlines. We'll talk a little bit about the macro, the week ahead, as we prepare for another week in the markets or traditional markets. Crypto doesn't sleep, which makes my job very interesting and somewhat exciting at times. But also talking about BTC and other currencies, we know the story with the lira. I don't think that's the best chart. So this is the lira. You have similar DNA in regards to structure, but this is actually approaching new all-time highs. And I think in Venezuela as well, you also have new all-time highs for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is working. It's been a massive success. And ultimately, if you think about these other countries where their currency is just getting completely demolished, it makes a hell of a lot of sense for them to move over to BTC. So I really want to just get into the video now, guys. We'll look at actually how the stock market typically performs in July. I think July is going to be a good month for the stock market. You've got the end of another quarter, and ultimately people do reprice, and you do see option resizing and positioning as that rolls around. Let's just start things off, as always, guys, with a nice little look at the charts. You will know that we took a position back into the markets at the start of January after being out for 2022, and ultimately it's been an absolutely fantastic decision. It wasn't just the crypto space we were calling long, but one of the reasons we were calling the crypto space long was due to the stock market. Now, I think the stock market is going above and potentially beyond all-time highs. This is the sort of target that we're looking at, 5K for the S&P, for the NASDAQ. Not as big a target, but for the likes of Microsoft, it's already at all-time highs. There's going to be a real sort of FOMO that takes place as people have to now get back into the markets, and the kind of fears. There's a wall of worry that we've been saying markets have been climbing, and they've done a pretty damn good job of it. So the prediction for Bitcoin is a significantly higher one. In relation to altcoins, we'll use Polkadot as an example as one of our favorite altcoins. We have spoke about this double bottom scenario. We came back to January's lows and we found support there. The real question is, what does it then do? Now, ultimately, we do think that you are getting a similar indication in regards to momentum that caused this sell-off and it being a lot weaker, and suggesting that this downtrend is very much coming to an end, that we got for Bitcoin. So altcoins will catch up, guys. You're going to have to watch your dominance chart pretty closely for that, and ultimately look for a roll in dominance on a positive Bitcoin price that's going to signify altcoins. There will be a pivot in regards to money flow into Bitcoin. However, we know Bitcoin has had a lot of boosting, really due to SVB, to obviously BlackRock, to economic issues. And you can see this is just beautiful. Textbook textbook price action here in regards to going from a downtrend into an uptrend. You know, we were looking at divergences that were taking place. We were looking at a number of things here, and obviously a major player being taken out, causing capitulation is typically not a bad time. You had your beautiful double bottom here, nice rounded right butt cheek, obviously then into essentially what you have is you have a concession of sort of head and shoulders that are taking place. Very weak right shoulder, and then you've formed a bigger, which gives you the 41k. You've come up, you've ran into what we absolutely expected, and I see people calling this as a great call. If you called 30k as resistance and 25k as support, you've basically mastered the very basics of support and resistance, I'm afraid. You know, it's not a significant call, even though we've called it and we've been spot on about it. It's not really something that's a massive call. Beautiful channel, nice bear flag. We could actually probably take a target from this. Depending on where you wanted to take the target, see where this actually gets us. Yeah, straight into this region here. So 41k is very much where we think Bitcoin's going. You're now at 30k again. You've had a bit of a pushback there, of course. You could do something like this, coil up, and then look for that continuation. You know, we've had a lot of bullish news for Bitcoin, obviously the BlackRock ETF. Let's go over now to a clip of Larry Fink talking about Bitcoin and how it can evolve into a global market asset.
It can be, you know, we see these big giant movements every day. It's a thin market. And so can it evolve into a global market? Possibly. Certainly by evidence of the imagination of so many who want to learn about it or interested in about it, to me is a very telling sign. Another good example why understanding big data, like how many hits and all that, really is a defining statement. And so we look at it as something is real, but it's still untested. It still has many we have to go through many markets to see if it's going to be permanently real, or it's going to be a variant of that sometime in the future. It
very interested in regards to a variant of that and the fact that it's got to go through many markets. I don't think people don't think we're early in regards to crypto and blockchain. If you look at the usage of blockchain generally, it's basically non-existent in regards to the grand scheme of things. That's not wallets, that's people actually using it on a day-to-day basis. This is going to grow exponentially. And the reason I brought up the likes of Argentinian peso, the Lebanese pound, and the Turkish lira, and of course Venezuelan peso, is because this is one area that not only is it used, but it's massively needed in regards to being a store of value. And Bitcoin has been a massive success. Let's talk about the Fed and you know, have they got any juice left in the tank? It's been our opinion that from the last hike when they went down to 25, they weren't going to do any more. Even though the pricing was massively against us, we've used a 2-year to look at this. We've done lots of studying on the 2-year, the relation with interest rates, how it leads, and now you guys know that one macro reason we have to be bullish is under the context of sideways interest rates. So we'll look at the Fed in just a second. We know what's been going on with the SEC lawsuit, and I want to jump over now to a clip of Brad really talking about this and summarizing, you know, where they're at. And the SEC's kind of performance throughout all this. We've covered Promethean. We've covered so much on this channel in relation to everything. But let's go ahead and play this clip, and then we're going to tie things in and kind of wrap things up.
Hi, I'm Brad Garlinghouse. As many of you know, I don't often make videos like this, but then again, not every week has been like this one. A few days ago, after 2 years, 7 court orders, and over $100 million in legal bills, the Hinman speech documents, including internal SEC emails and comments leading up to this now infamous 2018 speech, they've finally been unsealed. Hinman's speech created new factors to determine if a token becomes sufficiently decentralized to no longer be considered a security. At best, these documents show that senior officials at the SEC couldn't agree on the law and told Bill Hinman directly he would confuse the public even more about the rules for crypto. At worst, they show that Hinman deliberately ignored the law, and he tried to create new laws, something only Congress can do, And while he was a public servant, Hinman received millions of dollars of payments from his law firm, which was part of an alliance with others that had a vested interest in this speech. This speech isn't about any one token or any one blockchain. This is about showing the extent to which the SEC has relentlessly pursued enforcement actions against crypto players while professing fake open arms and calls to come in and register, all the while lying about their so-called guidance. As some of you may know, Ripple spent years proactively engaging with the SEC. I personally met with Jay Clayton and Bill Hinman, with no lawyer present. Why would I need a lawyer if we were all coming together in good faith? We answered every question they had, and not once did they suggest to me that XRP was a security. We were fully transparent, not knowing they would then use this information against us. The SEC hit us with a surprise Wells notice saying they were considering suing us for breaking securities laws and still refused to provide specifics. To those that have recently been hit with their own Wells notices and lawsuits, this likely sounds all too familiar. When the lawsuit did drop against us, days before Christmas, a very Grinch-like touch, they made it personal. They sued Chris Larson and they sued myself, alleging we should have known all along that XRP was a security. You can now see, plain as day, they couldn't even agree amongst themselves. And to me, it still seems like they can't. What we saw play out in our case is exactly what's still happening. The SEC is looking to kill crypto innovation in the United States, and its current chair, an unelected bureaucrat, I might add, is weaponizing the lack of regulatory clarity to exert jurisdiction over the entire crypto space. This is the definition of putting politics over people. It's the pursuit of power over sound policy. The SEC tried to bully us into acquiescing. Thankfully, we have had the resources to fight back. And now we can all see what they've fought so hard to hide. They knowingly created confusion about the rules, and they used that confusion to regulate through enforcement. That's bad faith, plain and simple. Ultimately, as our lawsuit comes to a close, for so many others, it's just starting. The fight for clarity has to continue. I'm just going to conclude by saying to my colleagues here at
We'll leave it there. You know, very good summary of everything that's going on and the kind of corruption. We know that Ripple have been locked into this lawsuit for nearly coming up to 3 years. It's largely hindered their market action. And there's going to probably be a number of cryptos that find themselves in a similar situation. I think altcoins do very well on XRP, Ripple, Brad, Chris winning the lawsuit. I do believe that's going to be the outcome. We've got upside targets for the lawsuit or for XRP. That concurs to me that there's going to be a fundamental narrative that's going to support it, just like there was Bitcoin finding support at 25K with BlackRock's ETF. The technicals will always lead the news flow. We did have another win for Coinbase. Breaking, the US Supreme Court sided with Coinbase unit in a ruling that reinforces the ability of the company to channel customer and employee disputes into arbitration. You know, there's a lot going on. On the side of the macro stuff, I personally don't think with a lower inflation, which was the Fed's main mandate in taming, and that's why hikes started in the first place, and we've got a trending down inflation. We think inflation's down at 2.5% in the US and not the 4% CPI. We think CPI lags significantly, just like damage of interest hikes lag or the conditions that they cause. And we think ultimately central banks are now running out of room. I think one reason they've tried to get away from the zero mark so aggressively is in order to give themselves room to unhike at some point if something goes wrong. And I think they're at the end of it. And we know the context of sideways rates. Please go and look at the S&P under what happens when they stop rates. That is coming. The S&P is already showing us that. People are still calling this a bear market, right? Okay, for altcoins, maybe. Technically, we can't call this a bull, but we assess that the general investment, because they went and put in a new low. Some of them, if you look actually at crypto generally, this is a bull. TradingView really winds me up how they've done this. This is the total market cap This is the total excluding Bitcoin. This is the total excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. Still didn't go on and put in a low, just consolidated around January sort of lows. This is bullish, guys. This is a bull market, absolutely. It's a bull market for the stock market. It's a bull market for crypto. It's a bull market for Bitcoin. And I don't know how the bears, and if you're bearish long enough, you're going to be right, that have been punished for nearly 7 months now, longer in the stock market, are still hoping and praying. You know, they got a very lucky break with the SEC. They'll say they foresaw that. They didn't. You know, they essentially are just bearish in any bearish event. You know, they basically try and, just like it was all about Russia yesterday, that turned out to be pretty much a nothing burger. We tried not to comment on it. It's very funny how everyone jumps on the bandwagon with these things. I'll always admit when I don't know enough about something to comment, and that's something we didn't know enough about. I also want to say on that front, propaganda is a tool used by both sides, and you need to remember that. It's applicable to both sides. But anyway, July, typically a good month for the stock market. However, we're still in the summer doldrums. August and September will be interesting. Stock market maybe could do something like Microsoft doing with the bigger indexes, you know, really get a boost, certainly with the end of the quarter, coming into a new one, and then actually pull back around these levels, set up some sort of cup and handle, which sees then continuation. We will see. There's lots of unanswered questions. Just a quick one on the week ahead. You've got the Fed chair speaking on Wednesday, and then you've got US jobless claims, which is going to be interesting. That's going to factor into another rate hike or not, and watch the Fed watch for that. And then you've got Eurozone inflation. So not a massive week, but some significant events. On that note, guys, I'm going to love and leave you. If you've enjoyed the content, like is always greatly appreciated. So as a comment, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Please feel free to check out the Patreon, and I'll see you in the next.